Blood and Dust, a Ballad of Vengeance. The sun beat down on the desolate town of Redemption, its rays baking the dusty streets and parched buildings. A lone rider, Jess Harper, approached his silhouette, a stark figure against the endless horizon. He sought solace in this forgotten corner of the Southwest, haunted by a past that clung to him like a shroud. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The arrival of Clay the Butcher Benton and his gang shattered the fragile peace. Benton, a man consumed by vengeance, sought retribution for his brother's death, laying the blame squarely on Jess. The town, caught in the crossfire of their vendetta, became a tinderbox of fear and anticipation. Jess, torn between his yearning for a quiet life and the need to protect the innocent, found himself facing a moral crossroads. Maria Vargas, the rancher's daughter, watched the unfolding drama with a heavy heart, her loyalty to her father clashing with her growing affection for the enigmatic newcomer. Reverend Elijah, a beacon of hope in a world steeped in violence, struggled to maintain the townsfolk's spirits. One-Eyed Jack, a seasoned bounty hunter with his motives, added another layer of complexity to the brewing storm. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the town, Jess and Benton stood facing each other, the weight of their pasts hanging heavy in the air. The townsfolk watched from behind closed doors, their breaths held in collective anticipation. A tumbleweed, carried by a whispering wind, rolled across the deserted main street, a silent omen of the impending violence. Benton's hand twitched towards his holster, his eyes burning with a cold fury. A gunshot echoed through the stillness, its origin shrouded in the gathering dusk. The dust settled, revealing a scene that no one could have foreseen. Maria lay on the ground, a crimson stain blooming on her chest. Benton stood frozen, his gun still smoking in his hand. The town erupted in chaos. Reverend Elijah rushed to Maria's side, his prayers mingling with her fading breaths. Jess, consumed by a rage he had long suppressed, drew his gun with a speed that defied belief. Benton, caught off guard, barely had time to react before Jess' bullet found its mark. In the aftermath, Redemption was forever changed. The dust settled on the blood-soaked streets, leaving a scar on the town's collective memory. Jess, his hand stained with the blood of his enemy and the woman he had come to love, rode away, his silhouette once again swallowed by the vastness of the desert. The aftermath of the shootout left Redemption reeling. Maria's death cast a pall over the town, her loss a stark reminder of the senselessness of violence. Jess, consumed by guilt and sorrow, vanished into the unforgiving wilderness, seeking solace in its solitude. Days turned into weeks, and the echoes of the gunshots faded, replaced by a somber silence. The townsfolk, scarred by the events, slowly began to rebuild their lives. Reverend Elijah, his faith tested but not broken, continued to offer words of comfort and hope, reminding them that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could endure. One-Eyed Jack, his bounty unclaimed, lingered in Redemption, drawn to the mystery surrounding Jess's disappearance. He had seen the raw pain in Jess's eyes, the weight of his guilt, and knew that the young gunslinger would not find peace until he had made amends. Months passed, and as the seasons changed, so too did the landscape of Redemption. The scars of violence began to heal, replaced by a fragile hope for a brighter future. One crisp autumn morning, a lone rider appeared on the horizon, his silhouette familiar yet changed. It was Jess, weathered by the elements and the weight of his grief. He had spent months wandering the desert, haunted by Maria's memory and the knowledge that his actions had led to her death. He had sought redemption in solitude, but found only emptiness. Now, he had returned to face the consequences of his past, to seek forgiveness from those he had wronged. The townsfolk watched his arrival with mixed emotions. Some saw him as a hero, the man who had rid them of Benton's tyranny. Others saw him as a bringer of sorrow, the catalyst for Maria's tragic demise. Reverend Elijah, however, saw a man in desperate need of redemption. Jess, his voice heavy with remorse, addressed the townsfolk, his words echoing through the stillness. He confessed his role in Maria's death, his voice choked with emotion. He spoke of his regret, his guilt, and his longing for forgiveness. In the silence that followed, Reverend Elijah stepped forward. "We all have our demons, Jess," he said, his voice gentle yet firm. "We all make mistakes. But it is through forgiveness that we find redemption, not in punishment. The townsfolk, their hearts softened by his words, offered Jess their forgiveness. They recognized the pain in his eyes, the sincerity of his remorse. They understood that he had been a pawn in a larger game, a victim of circumstance. Jess, overwhelmed by their compassion, felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had finally found the redemption he had sought for so long. As he rode away from redemption, the setting sun painted the sky with hues of orange and gold, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. The end. If you are enjoying Adventures in the Old West channel, hit the subscribe button for future posts.